music, which illustrate in a nicely nostalgic way, telling stories about Poland, about the Polish landscape, and in a nice way they describe it in the best way, illustrate Poland and Polish people. And there's going to be a free selection by Henryk Wieniawski. And we're going to begin with Legend of 19, and then we'll be followed by Roxana Song, or pieśń Roxany z opery King Roger, or Roxana songs from his opera, the great opera King Roger, which not long ago was premiered in Sonata Opera. This is a piece by great Polish reformer of 20th century music, Karol Szymanowski. And then we follow with the Romance, his second movement of his most famous second violin concerto. And we conclude with Obertas, which is Mazurkas caractéristique. Thank you very much. Roxana Song, I'd like to dedicate it to my wife, who dedicate all her efforts and sacrifice in career to be with me and support me throughout those in life and dreams.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to be here, especially that it is my first trip to Albuquerque. And as you probably realize, the job of a consul involves a whole range of activities, but one of the most pleasant duties of a consul is to act as an envoy of the Polish president and honor people for their outstanding service to Poland. And this is what brings me here today. I will remember this particular order very well because some of you know, because I believe some of you were at the Philharmonic on February 28th. We were all ready to come to Albuquerque in the afternoon on February 27th, went to LAX airport and learned that Albuquerque doesn't receive any planes because there is so much snow here. Unfortunately, there was no other way to come in time for the concert on Saturday, so it was for the first time that I presented an order to someone via Skype. I did speak. People, I believe, could hear me. I don't know that for sure. He thanked for the order, received flowers, only the order stayed in LA. And here, it is my pleasure to share with you that President of Poland, Mr. Bronisław Komorowski, awarded this order to Krzysztof Zimowski for his service to Poland and for promoting Poland and Polish culture in America. This is a special order which is usually awarded to people outside of Poland, both of Polish citizens and foreign citizens, for an outstanding service to Poland. It is the Knight's Cross of the Order of Merit, and it is my pleasure to present it on behalf of the President of Poland to Krzysztof Zimowski.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. Oh, thank you very much.
Czekaj, się coś tutaj
I know, it's...
nie chcę przyczepić.
A, to jakoś... Oh my, yes.
Jeszcze raz gratuluję.
Dziękuję serdecznie. Dziękuję serdecznie. I promise I will be brief. I won't repeat my speech from February about the Oscars and Oscar celebrations. But this is exceptional honor in my life for me, and I have to thank you right now give a thanks to Mr. President of Republic of Poland, Mr. Bronisław Komorowski, for granted that award high honor to me and to the musician especially. And thank you, Mr. Mariusz Brymora, Consul General of Republic of Poland in Los Angeles, for coming here personally, handed it to me. It means a lot. Thank you very much, Maureen Vaca, Ms. President of Board and Directors of the New Mexico Philharmonic, for organizing the previous event, and also Mrs. Eleni Bastea, President of International Study Institutes, for hosting us here in Keller Hall at the University Hall. And thank you all for supporting throughout these years and filling the concert halls and being with us, with musicians. Thank you very much. Live music is better.
Bravo. Oh, this shouldn't be for me, dla niego.
Dla niego.
Dziękuję.
Panie Krzysztofie, jeszcze legitymacja do tego i pudełeczko. Wszystkiego dobrego.
Dziękuję serdecznie.
Whenever I travel across America, and I have to say it's been 10 years since I came for the first time as a Polish diplomat to Chicago, as Polish consul to Chicago in 1999. I served a term in Chicago, then another 4 years in Washington, D.C., and this is my third tenure in America. And whenever I go and come to a university, I ask for a possibility to give a talk about Poland. The reason for that is that we found out throughout years that general public in America does not know much about our country. And if only there is a chance for me to speak to students, to Americans, to university communities about Poland, I jump into that occasion and want to say what Poland looks like today and what kind of a country it is. Yes. I wanted to start with this spot. It is the latest promotional spot for Poland, not only because I was the co-author of this and I invented the motto, Polska, where the unbelievable happens, and in fact it could be the title of this talk. As you know, we are talking about a country which, with over 1,000 years history, and it is impossible to talk about everything in a one short lecture. So my task today is to draw your attention to a few processes important in Poland recently, although we have to do a very brief introduction. geographical position of Poland. Poland is in the center of Europe. Warsaw is only 2 hours by plane from London. Paris, it is an hour from Vienna and a number of other European capitals. It is a bridge between the East and the West. It has always been so. And if you look at the map, you would think that the geographical position of Poland should be our great advantage. Unfortunately, our history proved quite the opposite. I don't have time to talk today about partitions. I don't have time to talk about wars. But if you go back to history and consult history books, you will see that instead of being an advantage, it was a huge drawback for most of the history that we had to face. Poland is not a big country by American standards. Not only it is 5 times smaller than Alaska, it is smaller than California, it is even smaller than New Mexico. But by European standards, it is quite a big country. It ranks 9th as far as area is concerned and 8th as far as population. The current population of Poland is almost 39 million people, which is almost identical with the population of California. We have everything in Poland. The seaside in the north, the mountains in the south, on the border of Poland and Slovakia and the Czech Republic. We have 9,000 lakes in Poland and a number of very beautiful castles, most of which are situated on these lakes. Warsaw is the capital of Poland. It is sometimes called the Phoenix City, and because it literally rose from the ashes. This is what Warsaw looked like at the end of World War II. This is what Warsaw looks today. A few other pictures from today's Warsaw, and then the Royal Castle, which was rebuilt after World War II. And then we jump to probably the most beautiful city in Poland, Kraków, and one of the most beautiful cities in Europe. It is an old, very old city. The university in Kraków, Jagiellonian University, was founded even before this country was discovered, or this continent was discovered. This is the original Jagiellonian University in Kraków. This is the old town in Kraków, and some other pictures of the old square and the old town in Kraków. Another important city in Poland, which I need to mention because I will be coming to that later on a few times, is Gdańsk. Not only because it was in the past the scene of Polish fights with Teutonic knights, but because in recent history, which is of particular interest to us today, it was the birthplace of Solidarity. This is a picture from 1980, the strike at the Gdańsk shipyard, which started Solidarity movement, to which I will come back in a second, and just a few pictures of Gdańsk today. As I said, in the last 25 years, Poland went through very important fundamental changes. To understand them, we need to have a brief look at the history of Poland around the middle of the 20th century. These two maps show the change in Poland from before and after the war. You can see that if you compare the territory of Poland from 1938 and 1945, there was a very big change. At the end of World War II, during the Yalta Conference, unfortunately with approval and consent of our two greatest allies, President of the United States and Prime Minister of Great Britain, it was agreed that Stalin will introduce a new order in Europe, and eastern border of Poland will be moved to the Curzon line. So we lost a lot of territories in the east, and we got some compensation by getting territories on the west, because the border of Poland was set on the river Oder. As a result of Yalta Conference, the Stalin new plan for Europe, Poland found itself behind the Iron Curtain. We were part of the so-called Warsaw Pact, and after 1949, this country was not a free country, because it was ruled, it was under the communist regime in Moscow. I wanted to go to the previous slide for a while, because again I wanted to do some comparison. This is what are Poland's neighbors today, and this is what were Polish neighbors before 1989. As you can see, 25 years ago, we had only 3 neighboring countries. Today, there are seven neighboring countries, and none of the 3 previous neighbors of Poland exist anymore. This shows how fundamental the changes in Warsaw and in Central Europe were in those days. It all happened because of solidarity. The Polish trade movement, which was started in 1980 in the shipyard of Gdansk, and then developed into a 10 million people social movement in Poland, which literally fought with the communists, which had to go through the nightmare of the martial law, which was imposed in Poland in 1989, and finally came to 1989, which was the transition year, not only in Poland, but in Europe as well. Before I talk more about this, I want to draw your attention to the fact that recently we celebrated 3 very important anniversaries for our country. 25 years of Solidarity victory, that is 1989 transformation, 15 years since Poland joined NATO, and 10 years since we joined the European Union. Of course, the world knows this symbol best. 1989 transformation in Europe is usually connected in the world with the fall of the Berlin Wall. It is always a pleasure for me as a representative of Poland to say that the Berlin Wall would not have fallen if it hadn't been for the Polish solidarity. That is why we often say that the Berlin Wall fell in Warsaw. It all started in Gdańsk, it started in Poland, and only then our victory in 1989 started the domino process, which went from country to country in Central Europe and brought freedom to a number of countries in that region. The key date was June 4th, 1989, the day of first free elections, partly free elections in Poland after World War II. Gary Cooper and his famous image of a high noon western was used in Poland to encourage people to vote in these elections. And they did vote. To make you realize how big victory for solidarity it was, let me tell you that in the upper chamber of the Polish parliament, the Senate, out of 100 places, there 99 were won by solidarity people. So the society definitely said no to communists and no to communist regime. Poland, with these elections, started a new chapter of our history and went back to the path of real democracy. In the 25 years that followed this event, there were huge changes in Poland in every sense of the word. In political sense, we went from a communist country dependent on Moscow to a completely free parliamentary democracy, from a satellite country of Moscow to a sovereign state. In economic terms, we went from a state of economy which was centrally planned in Poland, with the inflation reaching 600%, and from the time which we remember very well, and some of you may remember it surely too, the time in the 80s when the only article that was available in quantities which allowed it to put it on shelves in shops was vinegar, which by no means is an important part, an ingredient of Polish cuisine. There was nothing else available in this. To a free market economy today with inflation around 1%, to which I will come back later too. Finally, in everyday terms, from the country where people couldn't get anything in shops to today, when American-like shopping malls are spread all over the country. Another important anniversary that we celebrated in 2014 is 15 years since we joined NATO. Again, when talks about NATO enlargement started at the beginning of the 1990s, it was something unthinkable. Nobody would accept that NATO will be enlarged by countries from Central Europe. However, a few years of lobbying, a few years of negotiations, a huge pressure from the part of the Polish diaspora in the United States, millions of letters written to decision makers in America ended in the spring of 1999, when Poland was admitted to NATO together with the Czech Republic and Hungary. At that time, probably we didn't realize how important moment it was. Only today, in the light of the so-called Ukrainian crisis, to which I will also come back in a minute, we know how important it is and it was for the security of Poland. Ukraine, of course, one of the hottest subjects in Poland and in Europe today. Even 2 years ago, I would say that nobody in Europe expected that such a serious crisis may hit Central Europe. We kind of tend to think that boundaries are settled in Europe and that this is a very peaceful part of the world. Unfortunately, with the social movement that started at the Maidan Square in Kiev, things went from bad to worse. What is this whole crisis about? Definitely it is about the future of Ukraine, whether it will be a European Union future or whether it will be a Moscow future for the Ukraine. Poland has been playing a very active role in the Ukrainian crisis, hoping that a diplomatic solution will be available. And we still hope that a diplomatic solution will be available. Although the annexation of the Crimea, the shooting down of the Malaysian plane over Ukraine, all these events, very tragic events, make us think that it may be really difficult to achieve a diplomatic solution. So European Union, together with the United States of America, had no other choice but to impose sanctions against Russia. These sanctions, of course, hit back. They hit back Polish economy as well. The most famous, probably, example is about Polish apples, which used to be one of the major goods exported by Poland to Russia. After the European Union sanctions were imposed against Moscow, the Russian government replied with an embargo on Polish food to Russia. So we are in fact stuck with tons of apples in Poland, and one of the problems is that we cannot sell them in the United States, for example, because we cannot export food and fruit to the United States. So we started now lobbying in Washington to achieve a change in your regulations which would allow Poland to sell goods here. The only country, if I remember correctly, which on the grounds of a bilateral agreement with the United States can sell fruit here is Italy. No other European Union country can do it. The trouble with Ukraine is the trouble with the president of Russia, Mr. Putin, who is completely unpredictable in recent months. We do not now know what his next step may be. And apart from him being unpredictable, because of him being unpredictable, we do not know what his next move may be. But I think that Putin knows very well what we are not going to do next, because nobody wants another war in Europe, and so the European Union, Brussels, wants to solve this crisis with diplomatic negotiations, with economic sanctions, but we do not want a military conflict. Probably to be just in my judgment of the Ukrainian crisis, I need to say that part of the fault of this situation lies with the Ukrainians themselves. This country, it seems, did not take the chance created by the Orange Revolution in the middle of 1990s, and they did not follow the path Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and other countries followed. Within 10 years, they brought Ukraine to the verge of a complete crisis in political and economical terms. Corruption is the biggest problem there. They say in Poland that if you do not whom to pay, how much to pay, and when to pay in Ukraine, you are not going to achieve anything in this country because of corruption there. Third and last anniversary that we celebrated in 2014 is the 10th anniversary of Poland in the European Union. We entered the European Union on May 1st, 2004, with the last biggest enlargement. 10 countries were accepted to the European Union at that time. It was a very important decision for the Polish people. I don't know how many Poles are in the audience, don't know where you were in 2004. I was the consul in Chicago, and I was doing there a referendum for the Polish citizens whether to join the European Union or not. And I must tell you that it required very hard work, a few months of very hard work to convince Polish people here to vote yes, and to make sure that Chicago will not be the only Polish city in the world which would vote against Poland's joining the European Union. We were fearless at that time. We didn't know what the new European Union reality will look like. However, we were convinced that we have to jump into that water. 77% of the Polish people voted yes, and Poland became a member of the European Union, which today is an association of 28 countries. Probably it's worth mentioning the European Union motto, which reads, "United in diversity." And that was my answer to all those people who at that time said that we will lose our national identity, that we will lose our culture, our language, that there will be people from Holland, Germany, and others who will come and buy land in Poland, and so on and so forth. Nothing of that kind. European Union, if they want to introduce a new law in Brussels or Strasbourg, it has to be translated into 27 languages. It is one of the aims of the European Union to preserve national cultures and to cooperate on economic and foreign relations terms by delegating some, not all, some of the power from Warsaw to Brussels, from Berlin to Brussels, from other capitals to Brussels. Poland in 2004, when we joined the European Union, and Poland today are again completely different countries. It especially shows as far as economy is concerned. I'm not going to go into details with all these economic statistics, but I want to draw your attention to a few examples. I will use Ukrainian example again. 10 years ago, the GDP of Poland and Ukraine were on that same level. Today, 10 years later, our GDP is 3 times bigger than that of Ukraine. After Poland joining EU, our GDP grew by almost 50%. In 2003, the so-called purchasing power standards in Poland amounted to less than 50% of the EU average. Today, they are 67%. Poland became a leader in a leading producer in sectors like automotive industry, electric appliances, home appliances, or furniture. Polish entrepreneurs have turned the 13.5 billion trade deficit with EU member states in 2003 into a trade surplus of almost 100 billion zloty in 2013. Polish direct investment in EU member states have increased from 4.6 billion to 137 billion in 2012. Why is this possible? Among other things, because Poland is the biggest beneficiary of the European Union money. In the negotiations for the financial perspective for the years 2014-2020, we secured for Poland 106 billion euro, which is 130 around billion American dollars, I believe. As a result of all this, we acquired a name of the Green Island, because in the global crisis of 2008 and 2009, Poland was the only European Union country which kept a positive value of the GDP year after year and never allowed the crisis to enter into our country. A word about our relations with the United States. In 2013, the first time in history, we reached trade surplus with the US in our trade. In that same year, Poland was the US 49th trading partner for export and 47th for imports. Finally, European Union and our perspective on what is sometimes described as the first serious crisis in the European Union. The biggest problem probably is Britain, as the country which is most critical about Eurozone, most critical about certain European Union policies, and the country which is considering stepping out of the European Union. Luckily, the referendum in Scotland last year turned out that they are not leaving the Great Britain, so at least Scotland doesn't have to start the process of joining the European Union from the very beginning, because if they had voted and left Great Britain, they would be treated by European Union regulations as a new country and a new member, and they would have to start the accession process from the very beginning once again. Last May, the European Parliament, the new European Parliament of 750 people roughly, was elected. And with these elections, we saw that there is a certain crisis in the European Union, because about 1/4 of the seats in the European Parliament were taken by those who are Eurosceptics, or even to put things more bluntly, they are against the European Union. Is this a fundamental or existential crisis for the European Union? No, it is not. It is a wake-up call. We have to work more on the integrity of the European Union, but I dare say nothing is threatened as far as the future of the European Union is concerned. I would believe that the enlargement will continue, and that the biggest issue now in the transatlantic relations is the so-called TTIP, that is the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. I hope you heard about this because we have already completed 8 rounds of negotiations between European Union and the United States, and if we sign the agreement eventually, it will create the biggest common market in the world. It will be the market with 800 million consumers, which is a joint population of the United States and European Union, and a market which would control over 50% of the world's GDP. It is said by independent experts that all 50 states of the United States will get new jobs because of TTIP implementation. And their estimates say that over 700,000 jobs will be created in the United States. It should boost the economy by $120 billion in case of European Union, and less than 100 billion in case of the United States. What is TTIP about? It aims at removing trade barriers in a wide range of economic sectors to make it easier to buy and sell goods and services between the United States and the US. From everyday life, I've already mentioned the apples, I can mention cars. If you ever wanted to have your car from the United States taken to Poland, you would all of a sudden learn that you cannot, in fact, drive a car from here there because, for example, the color of your indicator light is red in your American car, and in Poland it must be orange. So these are the kind of things that are negotiated now, and it is in fact the regulatory coherence that is the most difficult part of these negotiations that are going on at the moment. We are hoping that TTIP negotiations will be concluded and the agreement will be signed by the end of this term of President Obama. But I must admit that it is a rather optimistic scenario. It will be a political decision because this agreement has to be approved by the U.S. Congress and by the European Union Parliament. We still have 2 years. Then, if it is not concluded by the end of Obama's administration, there is an opinion among experts that it will delay signing TTIP, the final version, by a few years. I want to finish on a lighter note and say a few words about Poles in America, because again, when working here as a Polish diplomat, I learned how little is known about the Polish people's contribution to the history of the United States. A few years ago, America celebrated 400 years of Jamestown. It was in 2007, which was the 400th anniversary of the first settlement in Jamestown. A year later, in 2008, we celebrated 400 years of the first Poles in Jamestown, because the first 5 Poles came with Captain Cook to Jamestown in the year 1608. And I was a Polish diplomat at Washington, working at the embassy, being the head of public affairs over there, and I was thinking, what can I do to mark the occasion? What can I do which would last longer than just one evening function with all the dignitaries from Poland coming to celebrate the anniversary? And I was lucky to work with a friend, Professor James Pula, a historian, and we committed this book. It is a book about 400 years of Polish immigrants in America, which I would leave with Eleni for the students to consult. But I want to mention this because this book became kind of a bestseller, even though it was never sold, because it was given by the embassy to people, because they did not realize that so many Polish people were so important in various achievements in America. Students in America, if they know anything about Poland's contribution to America, they would mention Pulaski and Kościuszko in pronouncing the name in such a way that you would never know it is Kościuszko. This book shows you some other names from the guy who invented one of the most famous monuments in America, Stanley Musiał, the Hall of Famer, baseball Hall of Famer from St. Louis, Liberace, whose mom was Polish. From our times, James Scott Parazinski, a NASA astronaut, 5 times in space. People never know here that Stephanie Powers speaks Polish with her mother at home, because her mother and her family is Polish. Or that Mike Kay, Coach Krzyszewski, who just won another title for the Duke in NCAA finals, is Polish, and he was one of the first guys when I came to Chicago. We presented him with a Polish Heritage Award back in 1999 during the Polish-American Congress event. Steve Wozniak, the Apple guy, is Polish, of course. And Martha Stewart is Polish. This man has an interesting story too. It's his name is Wieniawski. Those who know Polish know that Wieniawski is from the word wino, that is wine, and this is the guy who put California on the world's wine map. He was a chemist working at the university in Chicago. And one day he packed his family, came to Napa Valley, bought a vineyard there. 3 years later, his Cabernet Sauvignon won the most famous wine competition in Paris. And the bottle of that Cabernet Sauvignon is in the National Museum in Washington. And his wines are served in the White House as well. So with such a contribution to American people, it is no wonder that we are appreciated by Americans. So I want to finish now with another short film, but this time the American celebrities will tell you what comes to their mind when they think Poland. I don't know why, but it wouldn't play. So maybe they will not tell you what they think about Poland, unless someone can help me with the technical problems. If not, I will again leave the film with Eleni, and if the students during their international affairs classes want to have a look at this, they are most welcome, especially that it is another product of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from the time when I was in Warsaw working as one of the people responsible for promoting Poland abroad. And with this film, there is an interesting story connected, because we, on a day of it premiered, we put it on the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs YouTube channel. And my colleagues responsible for the IT, after 3 days, they came to me and they said, "Did you see what's going on with the film? The number of hits it gets is comparable to a message about a plane crash." 300,000 people within the first 3 weeks watched this film, and those who left feedback, 96% of these feedback was positive. So maybe that would be an encouragement for you to watch the film. My final word is, go to Poland if you have a chance. This is a place which is a good partner for business. This is a place which is a fantastic place to study. This is a place which is great for vacation. Poland today is thriving, really. It's a very good time for this country, so I cannot end my talk in any other way by inviting and encouraging you to pay a visit. Thank you for your attention.